Ella, I know we're here to talk about feet, but do your knees or back ever hurt?
Oh, always. Especially my knees. I feel really old. I actually do recently.
I've told her that like 3 times today that she can't say that to me because she's like 20 years younger.
She's also really young.
Thank you so much. But a podiatrist has actually told us that a lot of the time problems with your knees and your back and pain in those areas can actually be a result of issues with your feet.
Well, that makes sense because Birkenstock, if you think about Birkenstocks, they're supposed to realign your knees and your spine. And
that's true. And I guess it just goes to show that supporting your feet in turn helps support everything else.
Yeah.
It starts with the feet.
It does start with the feet. So if you have any knee or back pain, look at the feet.
Think about your feet. Welcome
to the SoleMate series.
Yes.
I'm Ella.
I'm Patria.
And we are your hosts for this series.
And we've both been with Footgear for a long time. We've seen a lot of feet and a lot of shoes.
A lot. We've both been in store for a very long time.
We have.
How long have you been in store for?
Oh my gosh, I would have to check our rostering system because I can't remember all the time. It's something like I've been here for like 14 or 15 years.
Well, it feels like that, no offense. Not to say that you're old or anything, but like, you
I'm
know
me.
Yeah, you well, you've known me since what, like 9?
Yeah, since you were little.
Yeah. We're here to discuss feet.
Yes.
And foot problems and common foot problems because, there is so much, not enough awareness about foot health. Wouldn't you agree?
I think so. I think from a lot of people that come into our stores and they'll come in with a foot issue, and even as they go to say the name, I bet you can guess the one that we hear the most. And a lot of people haven't heard of it before. They're not quite sure where to start. Do they start at the shoe? Do they start with the podiatrist? Like, should they be looking at orthotics, generic, or something customized? And a lot of people, I think as well, I think there's a few misconceptions out there of the key is just one item in a shoe is all they need, but you actually realize working here and seeing the different people's experiences that so many different aspects of a shoe or the tech in them can actually be what helps someone.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes you don't need an orthotic or
exactly.
You just need a comfortable shoe, or even a little bit of arch. Some people think that you need a really high arch.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one I was thinking of. I was like, do I name it yet? But yeah,
it's like
everyone's like, I have to have arch support if it doesn't have arch support.
Yeah.
But then there's actually other things in shoes that can give comfort.
It's like when they come in, they try and look for the highest arch support, like visually.
Yeah.
And you're like, do you have a high arch? Do you need it? And then half of them say probably no. Like they don't have a high arch, or they have a collapsing arch and they're trying to get into something.
And they go too high and they actually they're like, okay, well that's not comfortable.
Yeah, well it causes more problems in the long run than actually anything.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of foot problems.
Yes.
Do you have any foot problems that you haven't told me about?
I don't think so. I am sorry to report that I am on this podcast.
Her feet are healthy, so...
And I have really healthy feet. It could have something to do with the fact that I've worked at Footgear for 15 years.
I'm sure, well, it must.
Although I was telling you yesterday, and maybe this is something I should investigate further, and it's something where it's like, well, feet and the kind of problems that can happen through customer experience. And every so often, if I haven't been wearing the right shoes, I do get, not like the heel pain people describe plantar fasciitis, hardest word to say, and it's more that I get a bruise on the side of my heel.
So not like a heel spur?
Well, it might be, potentially. And I know my mum used to have heel spurs.
Have you been
from
to a
playing
podiatrist?
tennis and stuff, and I haven't been to a podiatrist. But usually what I'll do is when it starts to happen is I'll pop like my Echo sneakers on or a pair of Birks for a few days and then it goes away.
Yeah, okay.
How about you?
Oh, you know all about my problems. I feel like I come
You don't complain about them at all.
Not at all. No. I've been through quite a journey actually since I was like really young. Like I remember like my first time I went to the podiatrist, he was like, you got to be in orthotics. And I was like, really? Like, no, this is like detrimental. My life's over. I'm not going to be able to wear pretty shoes. And thank God he was like, you only need to wear them at school, in your school shoes. And I was like, well, that's good. No one will be able to tell because school shoes are ugly. And I was wearing brown. But anyways, so I went into orthotics and I found out that I was supinating. I supinate, which I was like, what the hell is that? I knew about pronating, which is where you roll in.
Yes.
And I didn't actually know anything about rolling in or out. I was like, you just walk. Like,
Yeah.
it's just your feet, natural motion, natural walking pattern. And then, it turns out those orthotics they helped for a little bit, but they actually didn't end up working out for me in the end.
Okay.
I ended up going to see another podiatrist because I had a lot of issues, like a lot of pain in my feet. Turns out I have plantar fasciitis, which you know.
The worst.
Yeah.
The
worst.
foot issue.
The most common.
Yeah.
You know how some people come in and they're like, plantar fasciitis?
Yeah, or people come in and go, so I've been told I have, and they just start with the P, and I think the staff would just finish the word for them.
Yeah. Well, when I got told I had plantar fasciitis, Victoria, my mum, she was like, you need to get into these socks, like ASAP, because he was strapping my feet up, and I was like, no. It was awful to get in the shower and it would get wet. Like if you broke an arm, I don't know if you've broken an arm or anything.
Or when people have a sprain and
or a sprain or anything,
tape.
you have medical, I don't know why I went to broken muscles, but broken bones. You had to get strapping tape.
You might need a cast for that.
Sorry?
You might need a cast, not just strapping tape.
But yeah, when I thought like plantar fasciitis, I was so confused at what it was. And so I got into strapping tape and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to do this every single time.
But it did help.
It did help,
Yeah.
it did. But in the end, I found these socks. Victoria, my mum said, try these socks, and I tried them on.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Oh my god, I preach about them all the time. They're like,
yeah, I think you were the plantar fasciitis person.
I was.
At
Every time,
Chelmside when you worked there.
every time someone came in,
They'd
and they
start with
mentioned
the
the word,
P,
and they'd be like, don't you worry, I got
You
you.
just throw socks at them.
Literally, have a sock. No, I was known as the plantar fasciitis girl.
Yeah. And so the socks we're talking about are the OS one.
The OS first, yeah.
OS.
They've got 4 compression zones, so
Yeah.
they're not tight all around, so it's not like your typical compression sock.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like
It's
someone's
around the
hugging
arch
your
where the plantar
arch.
fascia tendon is.
Literally
Which we can
feels
get
like
more
hugging.
into during the series.
Yes.
'Cause,
We've got Arch Week coming
Yeah.
up next fortnight.
yeah.
Next week. Next week.
Spoiler alert, we'll probably talk about plantar
Yeah.
fasciitis
A lot.
for a whole episode
Or
at some
bunions.
point. Yes, that's the other thing you haven't even gotten to yet. You also have
Oh
bunions.
yes! Oh my god, my bunions. Everyone's like, you don't really have bunions. I'm like, I do.
Yeah,
You
and
see
they
the
affect
bone.
the
Yeah.
comfort of
They
shoes
do.
and the width that you need at the front.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But I've been through so many shoes, and they've all really helped. Well, actually, no. It turns out when I got to that second podiatrist,
Yeah.
she was like, "You don't need orthotics. You just need a comfortable pair of shoes because you have such a high arch. If you have another high arch pushing up against it, it's just going to push you out even further.
Especially if you're supinating.
Yeah, especially if
Yeah.
you're supinating.
Which
so,
we can go into more as well, because supinating is actually it's quite a small percentage of people have it. More
more
people
people
pronate.
pronate. Yeah, which unfortunately I can't relate to most
That's okay.
people. But not
You can
to
relate
you.
to the bunions and the plantar fasciitis,
Yes,
which
yes,
that's a lot of people out there.
Yeah, for sure. If you speak to people, come in store and half of them are aware of a foot problem and half of them aren't.
Yeah.
And since we are talking about it, it's like, how do you really know when you should go and see someone, or is it a problem, or I think that's why we
What are
need to
you
talk about
looking
this.
at in
Or
a
what are you looking
shoe?
at? Yeah.
Like a shoe's, I think that's even one thing that's sort of a mantra when new people start working with us, is a shoe is just not a shoe. There's so much to the
things.
construction and the tech and everything
like
that.
different soles, like there's
Mhm.
EVA and PU. There's so many different uppers. Like
Yeah.
bunions need a particular material, I would say. Like they need
Yeah,
a
if
softer
it's causing
material.
you pain or anything like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
or where the stitching and things are, and a lot of comfort brands take that into account.
Yeah.
Even where they decide to stitch a shoe, they've thought about it.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to our customer service, we're not very pushy, and I think because we do know how important shoes are, we want to also, I guess, make sure that people are well informed to know about their foot health. So it's not just us saying,
And we'll go off what their
they're
feedback
really
is as
important.
well.
Yeah.
It's not just this shoe works for everyone. It's okay, well, how does that feel on your foot?
Yeah.
What are you feeling?
Yeah.
And then being able to be guided by that.
And not every brand's gonna fit the exact same way.
Exactly.
Some people will come in for a Birkenstock and they won't leave with a Birkenstock, and because we recommend
They
it,
might find something else that happens to suit them better.
Not many people know. Well, most people know, but sometimes you don't know how hard they are. So when they get them on, they're like, well,
I need
not
more
for
cushioning.
me. Yeah. So they go to something else, and that's what we're here for.
But you've sort of grown up always with the option. And you used to be sad about having to wear Birkenstocks
Oh
before they were.
Yes.
Wore Birkenstocks before they were cool.
No, I literally was. I used to throw maybe Mum would say temper tantrums.
Yeah.
But like everyone, when school camps,
and people wanted to wear their Havaianas.
they wore their Havaianas, and I never had a pair of Havaianas. And I would go to Mum before a camp, and I'd be like, Mum, I want a pair of Havaianas. She's like, no, you have a pair of thongs. Well, I would say like thongs. I wouldn't say Havaianas.
Yeah.
But I was like, I want a pair of thongs. And she'd be like, you have thongs. I'm like, no, I don't. And she'd be like, yes, you do. And I'm like, Mum,
They're not the same.
They're not the same. They're not plastic. And she's like, they're better. They're better. And I'm like, and she wouldn't budge. And I used to go and you know what? They weren't even the EVA ones. They were the Gizeh ones. And, you know, looking back now, I should have pulled it's cork. They're not great for the showers. You can't put them in water. I should have pulled that one. But I didn't know that much about them back then or how big they were going to become. But yes, I was.
Well, actually, that's a good way to gauge how long I've been at Footgear. When I started at Footgear, I think potentially, allegedly, the like young teenagers that used to come in with their parents and would say things like, oh my God, Mum, I can't believe you're going to buy a pair of Birkenstocks.
Yes.
They're so ugly.
That is so true.
They're so ugly. I think they're the people wearing Birkenstocks now.
Yes, they are. No, they literally are. I completely agree. And you have like a kid going, I want to wear them. I bet they're wearing them now.
They might be 100%.
Wearing them now. Yeah. Like they're so trendy for young teenagers now. Like the amount of 13, 14-year-olds that come in for a white Arizona, you wouldn't believe it. Like, do you remember the Christmas?
Or
Arizona
suede top.
Arizona suede
That
top
is the go-to.
Yeah.
And they look great. They do look really great.
They do.
And the way that people are styling them and everything looks awesome.
Yeah. No, they're like popping up. But we're not just a Birkenstock store.
No.
I think that's where people get us a little bit wrong sometimes, would you say? Not wrong, but
I think it's awesome that we try and keep we want to keep a really big range of Birkenstocks. We love them.
It's a big thing.
And we try and have a big range of them because there is so much to choose from. There's not just one style Birkenstock that exists.
Yeah.
And there's different styles and the different straps will suit
different and we want to try and cater for all the colours.
Yeah. But at the same time, not one brand suits every single person. And so that's why we have the other brands as well.
Yeah.
But what are we expecting from the next couple of episodes?
Yeah, so you'll see like podiatrists, or the podiatrists come in, tell us a little bit more about the foot problem. So sorry, I should start from the beginning. I'm not really great sometimes at storytelling. I cut to the chase a little bit too quickly. I'm like middle of the story. Wait,
I started that in my head and I've just told you the second part.
So every fortnight we'll be focusing on a common foot problem, like plantar fasciitis, bunions, orthotics, or just foot pain, arch support, just common foot problems that everyone experiences, and we'll basically break it down. We'll go we'll get a podiatrist to come in and explain a little bit more about the problem. They'll give us some tips and tricks,
what they can sometimes
what they find,
they suggest with those sorts of issues.
And so
at what point, if you've got that issue, at what point you should see a podiatrist and things like that. They can give sort of insight into that as well.
And we're hoping to also bust a few myths about podiatrists.
Cool.
Like I know a lot of people have this idea, as you said before earlier, that a lot of people think there's a lot of myths and misconceptions about podiatrists. Like, if you go and see one, they're going to chuck you in a pair of orthotics and they're going to cost so much money, or they're just going to give you
or it's orthotics and that's it, but it's obviously so much more to it.
There's so much more, and we really believe that podiatrists are very helpful, and they have a lot of knowledge and a lot of information to offer everybody. I don't know if that's
I guess basically what you're saying as well, we know the shoes but they know the feet.
Exactly.
And we do say that to a lot of customers. Like, people might come in and say, I've been feeling this pain, what shoes can I wear? And obviously for us, we're not podiatrists, so we have to go, look, everyone, we don't know what's causing that issue. You might need to go and see a podiatrist. The podiatrist can tell you what you may need to look for in a shoe. Yeah. We can tell you what shoes have those features.
The soul needs a mate. And we want you to find your soul mate.